To persuade means to try to convince. It's a hard job. Sometimes you only plant the seed for future change. Now, Aristotle, the great Greek philosopher, tells us about ethos, pathos, and logos. He says that in order to be persuasive, you need to have ethos. What's ethos? Credibility, believability. Are you a believable speaker? Are you a credible speaker? If you're speaking on how to discipline children and you've never had any children, you might not be very believable. Are you logical? Logos. Do you have logic? Are you organized? Do you have some type of an emotional appeal? Can you make your audience feel the way you do about a topic? If you can make your audience feel to laugh or to cry, well then you have pathos. So I have to tell you that with ethos, pathos, and logos, it really makes a speech, especially persuasive speech. Usually I ask students to bring in advertisements which use these principles. I bet that you can think of some right now. If you've ever watched a commercial and cried, well, guess what? There's an emotional appeal. And of course, it's very logical when you hear 4 out of 5 doctors recommend. So when thinking about persuading somebody, think about how you can use credibility, logic, and how you can have an emotional appeal to your audience. What do you want to be persuaded to do? What do you want to persuade others to do? Perhaps to travel, to stop smoking, to eat more vegetables, to learn another language, perhaps to go to school or to learn to dance, go on a vacation, volunteer, eat healthy foods, believe in yourself, exercise, study computers, study anything, use the internet, to read more, to start your own business, to use your imagination, to become a public speaker, to think positive, to buy a car, to use public transportation. So think of a topic, something that you would like to hear about or something that you would like to persuade someone else about. And then what you need to do is you need to make an outline for a persuasive speech. And the outline for a persuasive speech is very similar. The introduction and the conclusion are very similar to the outline for a demonstration speech. Here's our basic speech outline. Remember the introduction? You want to make sure that you gain the audience's attention by asking relevant questions, perhaps a line from a song or a poem, an appropriate joke, a story, a startling fact or statistic, a large visual aid, a proverb, a saying. If I were to give a speech on going to Hawaii, perhaps for my attention getter, I would show huge visual aids, huge pictures of Hawaii with Hawaiian music playing in the background. And perhaps I'd ask the question, when was the last time you got away for a little vacation? The second thing you want to do in an introduction is you want to introduce the topic to your audience, making it appropriate to everyone, even those who don't like vacations. Vacations are so important. Life is too stressful not to take time out to enjoy. Even if you don't have time to take one, dreaming about it will help to relieve the stress. And then, of course, the third thing that you want to do in your introduction is tell the purpose of your speech. Now, when making a thesis sentence or a purpose sentence, make it very short and sweet, something that the audience will remember. One short sentence. Come to Hawaii. It's kind of like a slogan in a commercial. Sometimes I'll listen to commercials on television. I will remember what the slogan was. Why? Because they repeated it over and over and over again. It was just a few words. You want your audience to remember what you came to tell them. So come to Hawaii, but you have to ask the question after it, why? Why should I come to Hawaii? Where will you answer that question? In the body of the speech. In the body of this persuasive speech, you are going to give 2 or 3 main points to answer the question. Now, the longer your speech, the more main points you're going to have. But for a 4 to 6 minute speech, 2 to 3 main points is good. You have to make sure that your main points answer the question. Come to Hawaii, I say why, and then if my first main point says the history of Hawaii, that doesn't answer the question. But if I say come to Hawaii and I ask myself why, and my first main point is, well, it's not too far away, that answers the question why. Now, with every main point, the first thing you want to do is explain it. And the second thing you want to do is you want to prove it. Can you explain that it's not too far away? Sure, you can tell how long it takes to get there. Can you prove it? Sure you can. How do you prove it? You want to make sure that you give testimony of an authority. Quote someone, go to the library, get some facts or statistics, maybe get a story from some people who live there, some illustrations or examples. You want to prove this. You state the point, you explain it, and then you prove it. For example, perhaps you could use statistics which prove that when you're going to Hawaii from where you live, it's cheaper than going to other vacation places like Tahiti or the Mediterranean or New Zealand or South America. You might want to find the length of travel time. You want to make sure that you're using reputable statistics. It's always good to quote. When you quote someone else, people believe you, especially if you've quoted somebody who's an expert on the topic. Now, the second main point, you want to do the same thing, and you're building here. You're starting with your least important main point, your second point is a little more important, and your third main point is the most important. You're building to a climax. Perhaps your second main point might be come to Hawaii. Why? Another reason why you should come to Hawaii is because the weather's terrific. You want to explain it. Explain how beautiful the weather is. Talk about how it's always warm. Talk to some of the natives. Explain how beautiful the weather is. And then you want to prove it. You want to quote the weatherman. You want to quote the newspaper. You want to quote people who live there and love the weather. Remember, this is a speech where you're using one side of the coin. If the weather was lousy, you don't want to tell them that. You want to tell them how beautiful it is. You want to try to persuade people to come to Hawaii. And then my third main reason is my most important. My last main reason is the most important point. We've built to a climax. So you want to leave that for the most important. For me, the most important reason for people to come to Hawaii is because it has something for everyone. You want to explain that. Talk about the mountains and the cities and the small towns and the water sports and the beaches and the good food and the great restaurants and the golf courses. It even has snow. This is a tropical paradise that even has snow. You explain it and you prove it. Again, how do you prove it? Stories, examples, testimonies of authorities. You want to quote somebody, perhaps quote a newspaper article, a magazine article, a book. So, in the introduction, you've introduced your topic. In the body, you have told why. And in the conclusion, you want to make sure that there's no new information in your conclusion. You're going to restate the purpose of the thesis. Come to Hawaii. You want to restate your main points because it's not too far away. The weather's terrific and it's absolutely beautiful with something for everyone. And you want to make a concluding statement, something that people will remember. So the next time you're ready for a vacation, aloha, think of Hawaii. So remember to include your ethos, pathos, and logos. Remember, if you really don't want to go to Hawaii or you don't know anything about Hawaii, you're not going to be very credible. If you haven't gone to the trouble to do a little research and find out things about Hawaii, you're not going to sound very credible. You want to be logical, follow your outline form, and you also want to have some type of an emotional appeal. Make the people in your audience feel what it feels like to feel excited about going to Hawaii. Now, one of the things that you need to do is to follow that outline form. Attention getter, introduce the topic, the subject, also have a thesis sentence. That's what your introduction is. Make sure that you have your main points, that you explain them, that you prove them. And also in the conclusion, that you're restating your thesis sentence, your purpose sentence, and then you're restating your main points, and that you give a concluding statement, something for people to remember. Now, it's a really good idea to practice. Make a sentence outline form, one sentence for each point, and practice, practice, practice. Practice out loud. The more you know it, the better. Now, you can get some of this practice by coming up with a topic yourself and coming up with an outline, and the outline form is in the Learn Oral Communication Quickly workbook. It's in Chapter 3. Go up to page 20, and in this chapter, you'll see that there are a lot of practice ideas. So start with a 4 to 5 minutes or a 4 to 6 minute speech, and then build up to longer speeches. And then come on back for how to answer questions and how to accept awards. Good luck with your persuasive speaking. I'm sure everyone is practicing their persuasive speeches. Good job. And now for how to answer questions. I have to tell you that for me, it's always a good idea to have my questions at the end of a speech. sometimes people like to ask questions throughout the speech, and that interrupts me. I like to have my questions at the end of the speech. You know, you can prepare for questions. Even when you don't know what the question is, you can prepare. For example, when President Reagan was campaigning for his presidency, he was in the debate, he knew during these presidential debates that the topic of age was going to come up. And so what he did was he was prepared. And he actually said when it came up about his age and him being older, he said, I don't want to exploit my opponent's youth and inexperience. He made a joke and turned it around. He was prepared for any kind of negative question. So my question to you is, if you prepare and you do a speech, be ready for those questions at the end. What's the worst they can ask you? What's the worst that they can ask you? Think about that question. What's the worst that they can ask you? What's the best that they can ask you? Put those questions down on a piece of paper. Prepare and practice answering them. Practice out loud. The more you practice, the easier it will be to answer those questions. Now, after your conclusion, you might want to say, I have a few minutes for questions, or I welcome your questions. Sometimes they don't start up right away. Sometimes audiences are shy. And so if they don't start up right away, you could always say, who has the first question for me? Note my hand. Who has the first question for me? If you raise your hand like that, they'll get the idea it's time to raise their hand and ask a question. You don't want to say, you guys want to ask me something? You want to say, who has the first question for me? Now, when you're answering questions, make sure that you look at the person who asks the question. And then, when you're answering, break your eye contact and talk to the rest of the audience. You always, always want to rephrase the question with, the question is. So if someone asks a question, many times the other people in the audience don't get a chance to hear it. But if you say, the question is, and you rephrase the question, then everyone will know what the question is and you can answer it. If you want the next question, you can say, for instance, let's say somebody asks, when was the last time you took a vacation? Well, some people can't hear the question, so you can say, the next question is, when was the last time I took a vacation? Then you can answer the question. So you've asked the question and answered it. Now, when you are wrapping up, when you've had enough questions, you can say, I have time for one more question. Or perhaps you can say, who will ask the last question? Now, what about difficult question askers? You never want to argue. If somebody asks you a question and you're not sure of the answer, you can say, I'm not sure about this question. Let's talk afterward to verify the answer. Or perhaps you can say, I will be available later on to talk. If it's a hostile word, make sure that you rephrase that hostile word with a neutral word. If you have a difficult question asker and they're saying, perhaps they say to you, who are you to think you can tell me about this subject? Well, I would say, the question is, what are my credentials to speak here? Do you hear? I've rephrased that hostile question, that hostile word, with something positive. So the question is, what are my credentials to speak here? My credentials are, I have a master's degree in oral communication and 23 years of public speaking teaching experience. You don't want to look at the hostile questioner. Use a positive, friendly tone of voice, but look at everyone else. Now, in a situation when someone disagrees with you, you might want to say, John disagrees with me. Not everyone always agrees with us, isn't that true? It's okay to have different opinions. Next question. So, practice, practice, practice when it comes to answering questions. Think, what would they ask me and how will I answer it? The more you practice, the more comfortable you'll be with answering questions. Now let's talk about accepting an award. Perhaps you want to practice to accept awards for public speaking. How do you accept an award for something wonderful you accomplished? Use enthusiasm. Show appreciation and show humility. You want to show your own joy. Keep it short and sweet. What does it mean to you? Be thankful and be brief. Use positive statements. Use sportsmanship. Thank the appropriate people, but not everyone in the world. Please don't read a list of hundreds and hundreds of people. You want to look good, dress appropriately. Make it interesting. Practice. Prepare. Entertain. Smile. Look your best. Be sincere and grateful. Imagine an award you would like to win. What would you say? Now, think. Perhaps the award might be Mother of the Year, President of the United States, President of your class. If I hear the words that tell me that I am the winner for the most innovative West Coast Swing Dancer Award, I might say, this is such a great honor. Special thanks to all my dance instructors from childhood ballet through modern dance to the adult lessons in West Coast Swing. Thanks for all your help, guidance, and support. I am absolutely thrilled. I hope to always have the opportunity to dance. It's my dream and my life. Thank you so very, very much. I challenge you to begin to think about how you can accept the award of your dreams. Prepare and practice. Now remember, it's a good idea to finish the Learn Oral Communication Quickly, Chapter 3. That's the workbook, Chapter 3, because there are some tips for answering questions and accepting awards. And then I'll see you for Video 4, How to Read Aloud.